Hello everyone, my name is Elvadora Dezerey Jubrin, and today I will be giving a presentation for my individual assignment for subject FIN546 Islamic Finance about the buy salam contract, which is also known as the salam contract. The buy salam contract is an important part of Islamic finance. It helps trade and provides funding to many productive sectors, especially agriculture and manufacturing. We will look at what it means, its main parts, how it works, and the risks that come with it. Let's start with the official definition of buy salam. Buy salam is an Islamic contract in which the buyer pays in full upfront, but the goods will be delivered on a later agreed upon date. This is what scholars including Muhammad Kamali in 2008 say. The buyer pays the price now, and the seller promises to deliver a specific item at a later date. This method is basically a contract for buying and selling things in the future. Keep in your mind that this contract usually only applies to things like food or manufactured goods, which are usually standard goods. It doesn't apply to things like gold, silver, or money because there are special rules that govern the exchange of these assets to stop the illegal practice of riba or interest. Like any other contract, the Islamic contract of buy salam is based on important pillars or known as rukun. The first of these is the contracting parties, which is called rukun al-aqidan in Arabic. It is clear who the parties are. The first one is the buyer, where some people call it as al-Muslim, while others call it Rab al-Salam. This is the person that gives the money or price upfront when the contract is signed. Second party is the seller, al-Muslim ilahi. They are the person that is responsible for delivering the goods that were put off to the buyer on the agreed upon date in the future. The second most important part is the contract expression, or rukun as-sikha. This is the clear and official communication that proves the contract between two parties. This pillar is made up of the usual offer and acceptance. The offer, also known as ijab, is the clear statement made by one party that they are willing and ready to enter the contract on the terms set out. The acceptance of Kabul is the other party's response that clearly show the agreement and consent to the terms of the offer. The third component that matters most is the capital or rukun ras al-mal, which is the cost of the item being bought. There are strict rules for Sharia compliance that go along with this element. The capital, which is called ras al-mal, is the amount of money that the buyer pays the seller in advance. The most important conditions are, at the exact time the contract is signed, it must be paid in full and in cash. This is called takabut. You cannot make an insufficient or late payment. This condition is very important to stop the illegal act of selling debt for debt, which can easily lead to riba. Also, both parties need to clearly state and agree on the type and amount of capital or payment to get rid of any confusion. The last pillar is the subject matters or rukun al-Muslim fee, which says that the product must meet a number of important requirements. To avoid any confusion or gharar, the goods must be mithli, which means they can be exchanged for something else and can be described exactly in terms of type, quality, and quantity. Second, the item must be something that is generally available in the market, not something that is one of a kind of ain which would be impossible to replace if it were lost. Thirdly, the delivery terms such as the date and place must be clear and known to both parties as a basic requirement. The basis for these strict requirements is found in a hadith reported by Abdullah bin Abbas, wherein the Prophet Muhammad stated that anyone entering into a forward contract must do so with a specified measure, wage, and term, thereby underscoring the importance of clarity concerning the subject matters and delivery time frame. The buy salam contract works in three steps. Stage 1. Contract and upfront payment. Start when the buyer and the seller sign the contract. The buyer pays the full payment, which is the salam capital, right away and gives the money to the seller. At the time of the contract, this upfront payment must be made in full. This is important to avoid the illegal practice of debt against debt. The contract must also include the terms for the specified commodity, which should include the exact quality, quantity, and delivery date. In stage 2, production and waiting period, deferment. The seller used the money to pay for the production or sourcing of the goods that were agreed upon. During this deferment period, the seller must still deliver the goods on the agreed future date. And the last stage, delivery and settlement at maturity, happens when the seller fulfills their obligation by delivering the goods physically. The delivered commodity must be exactly as described in the contract for the transaction to be complete and the buyer to take possession. The main idea behind this system is to pay for production in full in advance for the future delivery of a standardized asset. This gets rid of any confusion such as gharar. Moving on to the related issue, the first one is the risk that comes with buy salam is Sharia non-compliance risk. One big worry is specification. If the subject matter is not clearly defined in terms of quality, quantity, delivery, and date, and also the location, it can lead to gharar or too much uncertainty, which makes the contract invalid under Sharia. Also, there is a risk of illegal punishment. The buyer can get a penalty if the seller doesn't pay, but they cannot count this penalty as their income. Lastly, the buyer must strictly follow the payment condition. If they don't pay the full price to the seller at the time the contract is signed, they are in violation of this condition. The second most important risk group has to do with real-world delivery and production problems. This includes the risk of non-delivery, which means that the seller might not be able to deliver item on the agreed upon date because of things that come up that they did not expect. Quality risk is another risk that parties face. This is when the goods that are finally delivered may not be the right amount or quality that was agreed upon the contract. Also, there is the risk of natural disasters, especially in agricultural buy salam, where the seller could lose crops or livestock, which make it harder for them to keep their end of the deal. This slide shows how important the buy salam contract is by showing four main effects. The first picture in the top left shows a handshake with the thing of interest crossed out. This shows that the main purpose of the contract is to make sure that Sharia law is followed and that riba is avoided. By strictly following Islamic rules, it provides a legal way to trade that does not involve interest-based transactions that are not allowed. In the top right picture, we see a businessman giving money to a farmer. This shows how buy salam helps productive sectors to get financing, especially in agriculture and manufacturing. It helps producers a lot by giving them the working capital they need to start making things without having to take out loans. In the bottom left corner of the pictures, a buyer and seller are trading goods with text that says guaranteed price and guaranteed supply. This is a way for both parties to reduce their risk. The seller is safe because they set a price right away, and the buyer is safe because they know they will always have access to the goods they want, no matter what happens prices. Lastly, the picture in the bottom right shows a busy trading floor, which stands for the development of Sharia-compliant commodity markets. Buy salam makes trade easier by standardizing contract for future delivery. It is also an important tool for hedging in the modern Islamic economy. In summary, we have looked at the buy salam contract and defined it as a forward sale in which payment is made right away for delivery in the future. We went through its three pillars: the party to the contract, the expression, the capital, and the subject matter that are necessary to make sure it is valid contract. We also talk about the three-stage operational mechanism and the big risks that come with it, like not delivering on time and following Sharia law. In the end, Buy Salam is an important tool in Islamic finance because it helps productive sectors like agriculture without using riba. That's all from me. Thank you.